You guys already knew this was coming when I got the CZ P10c. Welcome to the channel. My name is Headshot, and thank you guys for joining us. Today we have two heavy hitters, the CZ P10c, the Glock 19 Gen 5. We're going to compare them, ins and outs, pros and cons, everything you need to know in one video, and we're going to talk about this. The question for this video, I want you guys to ask yourselves and leave the comment down below, which gun is better? That's it. There's nothing really fancy about it. Which gun do you think is better? Over time, I know everybody says Glock 19 has been around forever. CZ, new kid on the block, new Glock killer, blah, blah, blah. Putting all that aside, if you've had both of these in your hands, I want to know which one you personally think is better, and I'm going to let you know which one I think is better. Hopefully you guys enjoyed this video. First order of business, if we happen to disappear tomorrow, please follow us on YouTube, UGE Tube. I will leave the link down below. It is an amazing site that Utah Gun Exchange has put together for all different creators, censorship free of course, and there are already a lot of big names over there. Please take a second and follow us over there. I really appreciate that. And also become a Patreon if you love our message, if you love our videos, and you want to continue to push our message forward no matter where we go. Please consider becoming a Patreon, and I will leave those links down for you guys in the description box below. All right, let's take them out of the Tolster holsters here really quick. That link will be down below as well. Now I don't have the boxes out here. They both come with 15 round magazines. The Glock 19 comes with 3 magazines, comes with a cleaning rod, brush. CZ P10c comes with 2 magazines, cleaning rod, and a brush. And then the back strap design is a little bit different. I'm sure you guys have seen those before, but if you want to watch our individual reviews, we go through what you actually get. All right, let's start with the Glock 19. Features here really quick. You have your single slot Picatinny rail right there. You have a squared off trigger guard, high undercut in the trigger guard. So you can get a really high grip on this gun. This is something the Glock is famous for. Really low bore axis, if that means anything to you. But a really high undercut in the frame and no finger grooves. This is something big on the Gen 5s. You don't have any finger grooves anymore, and then you have a really deep notch cut out in the frame right there to assist with pulling the magazine out of the well. And you can tell the Gen 5 magazines because they have that little curve up to kind of meet the frame right there. You have this rough textured finish that they've kept from the Gen 4 versions all the way around, these little pyramids. And then now you have your slide stop on the right hand side of the gun now as well. So left-handed shooters, I'm sure you will appreciate that. And you can rotate your magazine release, take down notches. We'll show you the trigger after the shooting part of the review. And then you get your standard drop in the bucket Glock sights that I absolutely hate, but they are still on this version of the gun. Slide stop, all of that. Magazine release, it is the Gen 4 variety. Okay, magazines, as far as them releasing, have never impressed me on the Glocks whatsoever. You have to push this thing in really far to get a very unresponsive response from it. So it's really good they have that, so you can just rip that magazine right out of there. MSRP on these things is anywhere from $550 to $600. I don't think it's MSRP, but that's typically what you're going to see them at any shop for. CZ P10c, new kid on the block, single slot rail. You can tell it is very similar to the Glock. All right, you have a squared off trigger guard that is serrated here in the front. Comes around, not as much of an undercut in the frame as you can tell right there, but you can still get your hand very high up on this pistol. If I put them in each one of my hands, you can see the CZ rides just a hair taller. Again, this means nothing to me because if you have full control of the gun, you're not going to notice much of a difference, if any at all. Magazine release all the way around. Actually, this gun is fully ambidextrous. All right, and what's nice is the controls are low to the frame. So if you're a right-handed shooter, which most of us are, these controls aren't going to bother you because they're just flush and out of the way. Also, you have this little grippy area right there. It kind of mimics the grip in a way. So if you're holding on to the pistol like that, it kind of gives you something more to hold on to on both sides of the gun. So fully ambidextrous in every sense on this firearm. 15 round magazines, of course, and a very similar feel in the grip texturing. You have these little pyramids on the front, on the side strap, and on the back straps. Now this one uses a more traditional back strap. You push the pin out, you slide the different back straps in there. This one has channels, so you basically push this pin out and then you slide whichever size back strap you want up in there and then put your pin back in there. The CZ has front and rear slide serrations, so if you like to do press checks, that'll give you something a little bit more to hold on to. It's not something I really do, but still, that is something. And then also, this one is the FDE version. So all the FDE versions actually come with night sight straight from the factory. You can see that right there. That nice bright orange dot picks up really well and contrasts well with the white tritium night sights in the rear. You can see you have Allen screws holding each one of these ends, so you don't have any kind of pins or anything to pull out. On this one, it's actually pinned from underneath, and then these are dovetailed in. On the CZ, these are metal sights, and you have this little shelf right here. So if you have to do reloads off of a table or a boot, you can do that. You can also do that on the Glock. Just keep in mind these are polymer, and they can break on you if you do that enough times, okay? Takedown notches, very similar to Glock. Once again, I think these guys had a design in mind. I think they may have taken a few things from the Glock. All right, let's talk about the specs here really quick. On the Glock 19, the overall length is 7.2 inches. The height is basically right at 5 inches. The width is 1.3 inches. The barrel length is 4 inches. And the unloaded weight is right at 24 ounces. The CZ, the barrel length is 4 inches, height is 5.2 inches, the width is 1.2 inches, okay, so a little bit thinner, not by much. The overall weight is 26 ounces, so it's actually a little bit heavier, and then the overall length is 7.3 inches. So, you know, numbers, they are what they are, but looking at them side by side, slide to slide, you can tell the CZ is just a hair longer, and then if we put them on their backs, you will tell that the CZ is just a little bit taller, so 1/10 of an inch taller inside the waistband. That may make a little bit of a difference to you, but one thing that most companies have not been able to get right is, you know, they'll make a 15 round gun, but it's a lot taller than what the Glock is, or it's a lot heavier. These dimensions all the way around are not a whole lot. Now, they will make a little bit of a difference, possibly, but they've done a really good job at getting this size down, because I don't care what anybody says, this size and this weight on the Glock 19 has been its best attribute, in my opinion. Show you the width here really quick. You're not going to be able to tell too much. Glocks are known for being a little chunky in the grip, and you know, you can kind of tell right there, but you have basically 1/10 of an inch difference. And like I said, these dimensions inside the waistband, they can make a big difference, but they are very close for all intents and purposes. All right, let me show you how these guns break down here really quick, and then we will show you the shooting. Then we'll talk about pros and cons and which one I prefer. On the Glock, make sure it's clear. Takedown notches, very easy. On the CZ, pull the trigger, takedown notches, and you can see they look very similar. You have a striker block up here on the Glock. On the CZ, you actually have this little device that moves over out of the way so the striker can go back and move forward. The Glock has a dual captive recoil spring. The CZ has a single. Inside, their frames, they look pretty similar, okay? So putting them back together, it's really easy to keep these guns clean. So even if you're a first-time buyer and you go with either one, you can keep these guns clean and keep up with them. Me, I have a really bad habit of not cleaning my guns, so you know, that's just me, but they are easy to clean. All right, so overall, that's pretty much all the features and everything. We will touch on a few more of these features and pros and cons, but let's get to some shooting. I'll show you the triggers, we'll do pros and cons, and we'll end the video out. I'll see you guys in a minute. All right, so hopefully you guys enjoyed that. As you can see, both guns are really good shooters. I mean, I showed you how I open up a little bit more with the Glock. I've always been like that with Glock, but for self-defense purposes, it's definitely acceptable. We're just a little bit more accurate with the CZ. But let me show you the trigger here really quick. See, you have your safety dingish right there. You have a little bit of creep. It breaks. Reset right there. Let's check the weight here really quick. £5 2 ounces. Let's try one more time. 6 pounds 1 ounce. This one is really hard to pull from the bottom, which is where you will be pulling from, so you will get a higher reading from time to time like that. Let's try it one more time. 4 pounds 12 ounces. So right around the 5 pound mark, it's got a decent trigger. Not the best trigger in the world, but it's definitely got a decent trigger. And then the CZ, show you how that looks. You of course have a safety dingish right there. You hit the wall and it breaks. No creep, just a clean snap. I equated it to the PPQ, which is not something I just throw around willy-nilly, but it really is that good. Reset, pull. A little bit heavier than a PPQ, but man, it's a really nice trigger. Weight, 4 pounds 15 ounces. And one more for good measure, 4 pounds 14 ounces. Now the weights are very similar between the two. The little bit of difference I've noticed is the little bit of creep that's in the Glock trigger. Again, for self-defense purposes, these guns, both these guns are going to do just fine. But that little bit of creep and maybe the curvature, I don't know, something with the trigger just seems to make the groups open up a little bit more. Again, I wasn't going for these amazing groups, but both of them are decent for what they're designed to do. I just wanted to point that out to you, that we're just a little better with the CZ, and it has a little better trigger. That's it. All right, now let's talk about the differences here, pros and cons, and all of that. What you're going to notice on the Glock is a very minimal design, and that's something that a lot of people love about the platform. It's very simplistic, very minimal, all the way around. All the controls are very low pro to the frame, and it's just a simple gun. They work pretty much all the time. I've had issues with a couple in the past, but nothing. Every gun has issues, okay? But for the most part, they're reliable. With the new Gen 5 features with no finger grooves, I think a lot more people are going to enjoy shooting this gun. But the gun functions as you would expect a pistol to do. There's just nothing flashy here at all. CZ is the same way, okay? It functions flawlessly, okay? And it's a little bit more comfortable to me. I think the fact that, you know, the grip is a little bit thinner right off the get-go. The problem is with the Glock is there's nothing you can do here. This is the way it comes straight from the factory, okay? So you can't make this smaller unless you take a Dremel or whatever to it, and I don't want to do that. With the CZ, it's a little bit thinner in the hand, and I have smaller hands too, so I feel like I get a much more natural purchase on the gun as I'm firing, reholstering, and just the way it feels in general. But let's talk about the pros here really quick on the Glock. Simple, reliable, rugged. Longevity. These guns for a long time have been around, and they have proven themselves time and time again. Many agencies across the country use this gun for good reason. It's a reliable gun, and all the way around, it's also lighter and a little bit smaller with the same capacity compared to the CZ. The weight to capacity ratio on the Glocks is just still unmatched. Even though this is really close, this one still beats it by a couple ounces, you know, anyways, and a little bit of length in the grip. CZ, the pros. First of all, the price, $469 is what I got this gun at, with night sights, with the flat dark earth frame. Some places charge an extra $50 just for a flat dark earth frame, and I'm talking about straight from the factory. You know, sometimes they are more money just for the frame. Okay, so $469 compared to $600 when I first got the Gen 5. Okay, generally you're going to have about $100 swing between the two. CZ definitely wins in value. Trigger is absolutely amazing. I think it has a better trigger than the Glock, and all the way around, the gun just feels better to me. Sights are better, I believe. I feel, you know, compared to the Glock, front and rear slide serrations, feels more comfortable in the hand. You also have, if it means anything to you, metal magazines compared to polymer magazines. Now these of course have the metal inserts. No chance of these anything going bad with them, but the one benefit I do see is how these magazines will pop more freely out of the gun compared to the polymer on polymer that tends to hang up a little bit. So that's the one benefit I've seen there. Cons on the Glock, the biggest one for me are these sights. I hate these sights. I can't stand these sights. I wish they would have changed these sights for the Gen 5 versions, but they didn't. And to me, it is still a big con. Now, other than that, like I said, the Glock shoots fine. It's just a little bit more uncomfortable in the hand. I don't really have this complaint, but when compared to the CZ, that's obviously, you know, more comfortable to us, it's just a little bit more uncomfortable in the hand. And then this little notch right here, I'm not a big fan of that. It just kind of, it feels awkward whenever you're firing, whenever you have your pinky on that and you do that right there. You know, like I said, I know that they've done these on previous versions in the past. I'm just not the biggest fan of it. I think it's just a little bit unnecessary, but everything they've done with the Glock so far, I really like. I have noticed that some of the discoloration like I had on the Gen 4 is happening on this one as well. So that's something you might want to keep in mind. Overall, a decent gun, not the best gun on the market, but it really does, you know, what it's supposed to do. The only other thing that I noticed that the Glock is lacking, and I know it kind of seems like I'm picking on my own gun here, but I'm just trying to be as observant as possible, but the slide serrations, they don't really do a whole lot of justice. You have to have your hand way back here as opposed to the CZ where it just rides up more. So no matter where you have your thumb, all the way up here, you get a better bite, and it seems like they're cut deeper into the frame, more at an angle, gives you a better bite on the gun. As far as cons on the CZ, the biggest one I noticed is this magazine release. Now I heard from a couple of you guys that you can actually clean this up and make it a little bit more responsive, but you really got to jam this thing into the frame to get it to loosen up. And I'm hoping that over time, even now it actually seems like it's actually loosened up just a little bit, but you can see you got to put a lot of pressure on that thing to get it out there. I do not like that at all. And then Mrs. Headshot's complaint on it is she didn't like the grip. It's a little bit rougher than the Glock, and in her hands she's just not a fan of it. I've carried both of these guns, and I will tell you that this grip right here, you will notice it a little bit more than you will the Glock. The Glock is a little bit more subtle. Even though it's called the rough texturing finish, it's a little bit more subtle than what the CZ is here. But I like this whenever you're shooting the gun because it helps keep the gun in your hand while your hands are sweating and all of that kind of stuff. So overall, two fine pistols. Okay, they both share a lot of the same attributes. You can tell CZ took some pointers from Glock, and that is not a bad thing. But overall, the CZ to me is just a better gun. Now, I'm not one to just jump on the bandwagon and just say, oh, it's a new gun, it's better than Glock. I just believe in CZ. CZ has been around for a long time, and I believe in what they do, and I think they have just made a better Glock. I mean, every pistol, every striker fired polymer frame pistol that comes to the market has taken something from the Glock, and Glock has had plenty of opportunities to build upon what they've done. They've just kind of decided to make little small changes, kind of like Apple, and sell you a brand new product and say, you know, look how new it is, the latest and greatest. I just believe that CZ has done a better job in coming out with their striker fired pistol. Now, that is just one guy's opinion. I of course want to hear what you guys have to say down in the comments below. Which one do you like better? Thank you guys for watching. We'll see you in the next one. And as always, hold them down.